Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cheer Chat, you guys. It is a Thursday. I'm not in my normal location. I'm on vacation here in Miami. Happy to get into the situation that is like a little bit long overdue, but I was traveling on Wednesday when this all popped off, and um, I went to the Miami Heat game last night. And so this is the first opportunity that I have to sit down with you guys, as you know, with my glass of wine and talk about what's going on in these cheerleading streets. I'm really, really disappointed. It's probably a good thing that a couple days have passed because I was just so heated. I've been arguing with internet trolls and the whole nine yards because I was just really, really upset by um, the Arizona Cardinals organization's decision to remove the Arizona Cardinals cheerleaders from the sidelines on Monday Night Football last week. I forgot today's Thursday and there's Thursday night football going on. I know we've got practice, people have games, but I'm just going to lay it out there for you guys as I see it. I want to first off acknowledge just how wonderful it's been to see all the support come through. My DMs were just like blowing up, and people have been very active on social media, both on the Arizona Cardinals social media pages as well as their own social media. And I just think it's a real testament to how we are rising up and showing up for each other. And it is really, really encouraging. Um, and so I'm just going to throw my voice in the mix and also just share some things that have been shared with me. I think people have been very thoughtful about, looking at this from all angles. And that, you guys know that's what I do. I have a lot of research and notes. So bear with me. I'm going to get into it though, because there's a lot to discuss. Um, I'm sorry, this looks fuzzy over here in YouTube land, but it is what it is. I'm sorry, guys. Not my normal setup, but here, I'm going to take a sip and then I'm going to explain what the frick happened, you guys. I'm going to kind of just start by explaining like what it is that the Cardinals organization was trying to achieve with these premium luxury suite seats on the field. Then I'm going to walk you through, because we all can relate to what this probably felt like in terms of a game day from hell for the cheerleaders, just kind of walking through what exactly happened and how they were disrespected and humiliated in my eyes. And then just sharing some of the, you know, commentary from the team. They released a statement, a commentary on that. And then, I did receive a very thoughtful email worded by a former Arizona Cardinals cheerleader alum that I wanted to share pieces of as well. And then again, just ending with my 2 cents. So if y'all ready, I'm ready. Let me take a sip. All right, I put it in my story, pictures, right? And shout out to everybody who's been sending me like pictures from the actual game. There's some couple season ticket holders who shared like the actual views and kind of their perspective as season ticket holders. So I've gotten a chance to see from various angles like what these little field boxes look like and how much space is taken up. But just in a little nutshell, the Cardinals organization decided to offer three large rows of what they're calling like luxury seating. I got some stuff over here that I might reference from their website. But they're luxury field boxes. They're in two different sections of opposite sides of the field. There's 30 seats total. They're either in like groups of like 4 or 6. There's like spacious leg room. Like these are not airplanes, you guys, right? But whatever. Spacious leg room. The first row is actually on the ground, and then I think there's risers for the other two rows, right? And then there's actually standing room that's in front of the first row, right? So there's like a gap even from the actual seats, that there's just space that I think the cheerleaders used to take up, right? So they probably could have changed the actual layout of this, right? Maybe 2 rows instead of 3, maybe, figuring out a way to fit everybody. But you guys, from the pictures, these little field boxes actually come out pretty far. We'll get into like how much sense that makes in terms of like just not even just safety, but there's just so much going on the sidelines. If you guys have been on an NFL team or been to an NFL game, you know that there's, I said, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, they're mostly males, but there are so many people on the field, from the team to the team personnel to the freaking media, whether they're photographers, reporters, you got safety people, the stadium people who are making sure people don't storm the field. You got so many people on the sidelines. And so it's already a congested space. And so now you have these huge, uh, you know, um, actual like structures that are coming out. It's not like just a seat. They've got like enclosure around it. And so that's jutting out pretty far. And I just don't understand. I mean, you guys even know, especially on Monday Night Football or like primetime games, you have like the cameraman that's on that thing that zooms up and down the sideline and you might get whacked by it kind of thing. Like, I don't know how there's room for all this to actually be on the sidelines this way, but that's how they designed it and structured it. Okay. So that's the backdrop. And apparently they've been available all season so far. And the cheerleaders were previously dancing in front of these seats, and they were actually pretty empty most games. That's what I've been hearing from everybody. Like hardly anybody's buying these tickets, and maybe because it was Monday Night Football, maybe there were more people there, but typically these seats are actually empty. And I mean, let's be real. Who in their right mind actually, if they want to watch the football game versus just look cool in front of their homies and talk and socialize, actually want those types of seats, right? And I should also mention that these seats have like a private TV screen because you can't see shit, right? I'm probably, just for the record, y'all, probably going to be cursing. It's been a while. I'm sorry. Been on a rant. And this is just so idiotic that I just can't help it. I might curse, especially as I drink my rosé. But if you have to put a freaking TV in the stands, same way they do in the suites, like you know what it's like for people who socialize the games versus actually watch it. Like they're chit chatting, you have the screens up there, and nobody's really watching. Not nobody, but it's just like a lot of attention is not really on the game itself. And the pictures that people showed me live from the games, you guys, what are people on? Their phones. Maybe they're looking at their fantasy football team league. I don't know. But like people are not looking at the game or trying to like bob and weave and see the actual field because you really can't see anything from that level. It does not make any sense. Okay. Even the luxury suites that are up high, you're so far back from all the action. Everybody's just kind of like keying it up with everybody in the suite and not really like engaging and watching the game. So it's just really like, what sense does this really actually make? In addition to these little field boxes, they got casitas. I mean, they're probably, people were writing in saying that they may be trying to mimic the environment at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas that the Raiders have. But I get sports business. Okay. I studied this shit too. I know what, you're trying to find new revenue streams and create new fan experiences, blah, blah, blah. But this one doesn't really make that much sense. And the actions that they took to accommodate what may have been complaints from those people, like we can't see, really only targeted the cheerleaders. And that is a big fat issue that I, of course, have with this whole thing. I should also just mention that the flag runners who are male were also removed from the space in the end zone that they normally would stand because of those casitas that are in the end zone. I hope I'm saying that right, but whatever. So they didn't actually have to like go where the cheerleaders ended up having to go. They were on off the field, but like in the tunnel. So they weren't fully removed from the scene. Why? Because they go out there running out there with maybe the flags after scoring. But that's the that's the lay of the land. Now I'm gonna get into. Oh, somebody said it's hard to hear you. You guys, okay. I don't know what's going on. If you guys did the Apple update, ever since I did that crap, it's messed up my phone volume. I am live on YouTube. I'm so sorry. I don't know what the F is going on with that. Please join me on YouTube. The last time I went live, some people were able to hear me. Okay, it's clear that people can't hear me. Shoot. Um, there's no fan in the back. It's just my phone volume is messed up ever since I did the update. Can you guys go to YouTube land? I'm so sorry. I'm gonna pause for a second. They'll go to YouTube. Yay. Um, I will leave it up so people know to go to YouTube. This is so embarrassing. It's not me, I promise. Like, I don't know what happened. I will make it available so people can tune in. People are going to go to YouTube land. I'm going to stop this and tell everybody to go to YouTube. I'm so sorry. Okay, YouTube land. Here we go. I hope people are able to join me here. It's so unfortunate that my phone is tripping. It really pisses me off. But let's get into what happened here because I wanted to really walk you guys through from the cheerleaders experience, like what actually took place, because that's important. I think we need to just put ourselves in the shoes of the women and kind of like what they actually experienced on that day, because that's what had my blood boiling. So, all right, so here we go. This is just based on input from people who are willing to write in anonymously. So on Tuesday afternoon, this is a Tuesday before Monday Night Football, right? The coach for the Arizona Cardinals was notified that the cheerleaders would not be able to be on the field. Much better. Okay. Thank you. And if you guys don't mind pausing for 5 seconds, I just want to like put something up in the freaking to put something up in the whatchamacallit story for people to kind of join me live on YouTube. If you guys don't mind, can I do that? Because I want to hear from y'all too. And this is some bull crap. So I really just want to address that in 2.5 seconds. I promise. Um, anyway, talk to me. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm so sorry. I just want people to join. You know what? Screw that. I'll post it in the story later and that's where they can find it. Thanks for joining, whoever's around. The point is, okay, Tuesday is when they were notified of this change, that they were not going to be able to dance on the sidelines for this game. Now, you guys know during the season that Monday Night Football, any primetime game is like extremely, like that's the hype of that's the season, the games of the season that your family's coming to, your friends are coming in town. Like it's such a big deal. You work really, really hard. And so this news obviously was extremely disappointing for all of the dancers. It wasn't really clear in the way that it was communicated if this was just like a one-time thing or if this was going to be the situation for the remainder of the season. And I know they have practice tonight, so maybe they'll learn more about what's going on here. But um, it didn't seem as though they were kind of like, we're going to try this out and see how it goes. Okay. So it's Monday Night Football. You know, you've practiced and prepared for your routines and, you know, to get the message that you're actually not going to be on the field the whole time. I don't think it really like resonates until you hear the play by play of like how humiliating this had to feel for these women. So they felt like they were being like honestly like punished because they should have been like super excited about this game, like I said. And it just from like this minute they got to the stadium, like this mood and this like just everything, all the vibes were off, right? So what they did was they performed their pregame performance, right, on the field. They did the player intros, the national anthem, right? And then after the national anthem, when you normally would go into your four corners of the field, they basically exited the field like during the actual kickoff. That is like the most hype time where you're trying to like get the game going, get it started. And this is when they were like exiting the field. And they walked by the very box seats that are in question here, right? With the few people that were in them. I think there were like, it was empty except for three people as they walked by. And those fans were like, where are you guys going? And wanted to take a picture with them and were kind of like wanting to interact with the cheerleaders. So that's super ironic. But they go into this like tunnel. I don't know the stadium like that, but essentially it sounds like a tunnel that was like around a bend and on this ramp, like almost like underneath the stadium. It was the original plan was for them to watch the game from the locker room, but apparently they wanted to try to kind of like keep them on standby almost in case they scored a touchdown because they go into the end zones and do rise up Red Sea, right, with the crowd. And so they tried to kind of keep them in this holding pattern. So they're standing in this freaking tunnel ramp situation with their backs against the wall. Like, it's just like it's this area that takes you off the field. And this is where fans pass by to go to the bathroom. And so, just like, how humiliating is it to have a squad of like 30 freaking people like lined up against the wall, like while the game is going on? This is Monday Night Football. You're standing there, people are confused. But what makes it so damning in this like humiliation aspect is that they were having to watch the game through this like small TV that they could see through some glass window of the bars and lounges that are back there. Like That is their experience of seeing the actual game. And then when they have their first and third quarter performances that they did actually get to go out on the field and dance for, just imagine the walk of, I don't want to call it shame, but just the walk of like humiliation where you are coming from the crevices of the stadium where they have you posted up, walking onto the field, trying to be in place in time to go out there for the quarter break, performing, and then having to like walk off the field where people are looking and confused and clapping for you, but like where are you going? Like this, the whole thing just makes my skin crawl because that is just so wrong. And not to mention, you're sitting here, you're standing here in this tunnel, and you have no ability to stay warm, to stay stretched, anything like that. You're just going out there cold, and all of the emotions, you guys, that you can imagine that they are experiencing, like they're thinking their family's going to be able to watch them the whole game and experience like the excitement and thrill. The team ended up winning the game, and where were the girls? Like basically off in the back, like on the way to the locker room. They watched the last play of that game in the locker room. They weren't even out there. You know how like when you kind of like line the field when the players are leaving, they weren't even out there for that. No way of celebrating the win with the team. It was just humiliating because it just spoke volumes like how little they thought of their experience, like again their time, their energy, their effort and preparation, to reduce them to just coming out onto the field for their performance in that manner, and then wanting to like keep them around in case they want to use them. Like that's just the wrong mentality of like looking at what they actually bring to the game day experience. Like such a slap in the freaking face. I'm going to pause. If people have comments, please share. um, I really wish I did try to like make an announcement for people to come to YouTube, but I keep going back and forth on that. It's fine. I'm gonna just keep going, y'all, unless you guys hit me up in the comments. This was like the worst game day experience that I can think of. Like it literally just sounds like a nightmare. They had all of these emotions that they were going through, having to swallow it down. I mean, they went from like crying to like being pissed off to having to like swallow and push it all down because they're out there in front of the fans when it came to their entry on and off the field for these performances. So humiliating. But what is somewhat encouraging is just the fans' reaction. Like they were definitely confused, vocal about like what happened to the cheerleaders. Like this makes no sense. I mean, the fans that are passing them, you know, to use the bathroom, or just kind of like saying like, I'm going to be writing in because this doesn't add up. This isn't fair. This isn't right. And there's been a lot of, the Cardinals don't have cheerleaders anymore. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. They still have them, but they remove them from the field. And so it sounds like there's been a lot of reaction and then a lot of press that has thankfully been raised because of this issue. And people have been blowing up the Cardinal social media, some news outlets like Barstool Sports, you know, the Daily Mail, New York Post. Like there's been coverage of this, and which is a very, very good thing. Um, but I want to read this team statement because it just makes me upset. So the Cardinals put out a statement that said, with the introduction of new field level seating products this season, measures have been taken throughout the year to reduce sideline congestion and enhance safety by moving some personnel to other areas. This has included certain aspects of our game entertainment group, like the cheerleaders and flag runners, only being on the field when performing. That was their statement. We will continue to evaluate these areas throughout the season to provide the cleanest and safest environment for everyone. Let's be real, okay? First of all, I think the justification that they gave the dancers was just around like seating, right? And just that they were obstructing the view of the people who bought these seats. To say that they are trying to reduce sideline congestion by removing the cheerleaders, when they built a structure that comes all the way into the sideline, makes no sense. And you still have all of the media, all of the personnel, like it's still a crap ton of people who are in the way. The view is not now clear because the cheerleaders are not there. There was never a view, let's be real, to begin with. And so this whole argument that they're reducing sideline congestion while they are actually adding to the sideline congestion with these seats is just, it doesn't add up, right? Then they want to actually bring in enhancing safety. I'm going to call it what I see. Like, that is bullshit, because we know when you're on the field, you guys, the game comes to you. You never know when somebody's going to run out of bounds, when the kicker's going to be practicing. Like, all of this stuff happens on the sidelines. And you cannot tell me with the pictures that I've seen is that they will actually that they will actually enhance player safety by having players running into this structure that has all of these little field boxes in it. Like, you can't be serious. Like, that is even more, in my mind, like a player safety issue. This is like the first of the kind in the NFL, as they were touting it on their website. I got your question. I'll answer it in just a sec. Um, just that they were like, oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But like, they said that they were trying to enhance safety, but it doesn't actually add up based on the amount of space that they're taking. And I don't understand. Oh, I was saying that they said that this was like the first of its kind in the NFL in terms of offering this type of seating. But what I'm really curious about is like how this actually passed muster in terms of like whatever the NFL regulations are. Like, they have certain rules around like where the cheerleaders can stand and like who can be on the field. And I just can't imagine that they can just build this type of structure going this close to the dotted line. Like, somebody sent me a picture of, the actual lines on the field. Like, that is just something that I think is just all it takes is one player to run out of bounds and crash into the dang on field box before this whole safety argument goes completely out the window. I'm sorry, we were never a threat to safety of players by being on the field. It's this structure that doesn't even have a view, period, first and foremost, and then it actually is taking up space that truly belongs to the players first and foremost. And then the way that they designed it could have actually been avoided to having to remove the girls in the manner that they did, because they just took up so much unnecessary space. Somebody said, where did they post this lame statement? This was in one of the articles I can go back and dig it up which one, but because of all the press that they've been getting, they did put out a statement. I didn't see it on their website. It was like in a news article, but this is what they offered up. Reducing sideline congestion and enhancing safety. It's bullshit, you guys. We are just going to call it what it is. The other thing that I wanted to because I've been arguing with internet trolls and posting about this, like, a lot of people are like, it's just pure dollars. I'm sorry, the cheerleaders don't bring in revenue. They're offering premium seating, and that's just business, the nature of the business. And again, I studied sports business. I understand that they are constantly looking at new ways of squeezing revenue. Um, I just think the whole approach is just so short-sighted. You had season ticket holders who did prior to these seats being installed, had like the best seat in the house, right? Now you have created this kind of elitism within your own fan base of adding these structures that really are only catering to, I don't even know, do the math. Like, there's 30 boxes I mean, it's just like, is it really worth like prioritizing the viewpoint of this small subset of fans? You got the casitas that are in the end zone. Like, you're just actually compounding a problem that is not actually, in the long run, I don't think is really going to do much. Like, unless your stadium was already built with that in mind, I just think the short-sightedness in the way that they're planning, adding these additional structures, like, it's a logistical nightmare. You are impeding the actual game day experience for most. And I'm going to read from one of the emails that I got from a former Arizona alumni cheerleader. I think she summed it up very, very well, like how flawed these arguments are. And then I'm gonna like share my 2 cents, but I'm gonna take a sip because I know I'm getting heated. And we'll get into kind of like what we can do to show support. Let me get this email, 1 sec. All right. So this particular woman, Samantha Marcillo, she is a former Arizona Cardinals cheerleader. She's also a co-director of a nonprofit called the Science Cheerleaders, and that's former professional cheerleaders that have careers in STEM. And so I don't want to like read verbatim, but I think she made some really great points, okay, that I wanted to share with you guys. She said, I've seen the research and evidence that female representation is critical to raising young girls. And this is, again, the focus of her nonprofit. Many young girls who attend or watch games with their families do so with the hopes of catching even a glimpse of a cheerleader. A high five from a cheerleader, I'm adding in some little commentary here and there, but we know what the interaction is like when we see young girls in the audience. Several former cheerleaders that were, quoted in some of the articles that have been out have also spoken to this. This is a big deal in terms of representation. There are only so many women in this sport of football right now, and like that is the place where they get to see us in our glory, serving as a good role model and getting them engaged and excited about the game. Okay, now I'm adding to her email. Let me stop. She says, "We are the role models that show little girls how they can become a part of the NFL without having to play the game. We are doctors, engineers, teachers, scientists, and all other sorts of important people in our day jobs. And having girls see us both as professional women and cheerleaders creates strong role models and inspiration in our communities. Removing cheerleaders from the game day experience signals to young girls that we are somehow less than, that we are not important, and that this is a men's only sport. All things that are completely untrue, which I completely agree with. This is a dangerous move that serves a very small population of high-paying fans, if we can even call them that, because again, who goes to a game to really truly engage with the game and watch the game and wanting to sit somewhere like that? It just doesn't, that's just not the actual fan base. Those are people who want to flex their wealth and hang out with their friends and make it more of a social experience. The other point that she made, which I thought was important too, she said, secondly, as a fan and someone who understands business strategy, the premium seats that were installed were anything but. As a friend of mine alluded to in her Instagram post, she's making reference to the other stadiums, right? Like SoFi and Allegiant that are doing something similar. They have state-of-the-art facilities that highlight how lacking the Arizona Cardinal Stadium actually is. So the installation of these seats looks nothing more like trying to keeping up with the Joneses scheme to as pure as though our stadium is nicer than it really is. Um, she said, rather than quickly install cheap looking seats that, quite frankly, do not provide a good view, considering the staff and photographers that continue to block their view, who were not targeted by this act, the team should have removed a small section during the offseason and created actual luxury suites. Um, she was like, she remembered being on the field and constantly like moving out of the way, not only for active players running out of bounds, but players on the sidelines practicing and walking around. Like there's just so much going on. And if somebody wants to buy those seats, that's the experience that you get. Okay. That is exactly what you sign up for if you want to be on the field. You are actually signing up for seeing the players up close, seeing the cheerleaders up close, seeing the backs of a bunch of freaking people with vests on that work in the NFL or people that work for the media. Like that's what you get. You don't get any, you're not getting a view of the game. Like it's just like common sense. Anyway, I'm again adding to her email. Ultimately, this move is either a result of a money hungry organization or one that is not doing as well as we all think and is grasping at straws to make an extra dollar. If utilized correctly, cheerleaders can be used as a built in marketing tool to boost viewership and sales and create excitement for what has lately become a lackluster team. Like they were struggling. That was a big win for them on Monday Night Football. And now they have this cloud with all of the negative press that they've received, rightfully so. Taking away the cheerleaders is alienating a new and growing population of females and girls that are trying out the NFL and deciding whether or not to stick around. We all know the Taylor Swift effect. We all know the effect truly of like the DCC Netflix series. Like people are more curious, I think, about NFL cheerleaders than ever before. Again, all the commentary on social media is very supportive. And I think that is a big shift from me covering this space for the past 6 years and knowing that anytime we complain about anything, nobody cares about the cheerleaders, nobody's watching you. And there's a lot of misogynistic crap out there, but there was an overwhelming amount of people who are supportive and questioning, like, why would they do something like that? Which I think is just really, really encouraging. Um, so that she ended with just saying maybe the Arizona Cardinals should consider showing these women a bit more respect. And I just want to share my 2 cents on this because that I'm big on respect. I think there had to be conversations around this, and I'm pretty sure, from the cheerleaders' perspective, probably the director's perspective, this is something that I'm sure they tried to protest in the ways that they could. That this was not a move that was mindful of the women and the hard work that they put in, preparing for the year and being actual athletes and entertainers. That you can't just do something like this without expecting some sort of backlash around it. I think one especially because I'm here in Miami, you guys, I went to the Miami Heat game last night, and I think that the danger here is that an NFL game day experience is not like the NBA. It's not. And a lot of the NBA games that I've gone to, not all the dancers, but oftentimes the dancers are in the locker room in between performances. They come out for their pregame, the player tunnel, they disappear in the locker room. They come out for the timeout performance, they go back into the locker room. I think to me, that seems to be the norm, and I don't like that either. I wish they were out there the whole entire game, but from photographers to fans to courtside seating, we're getting moved out of the way. I think for NBA, that makes a little bit more sense. Football is like 3 freaking hours of lots of stop and play. It's just a different environment, and to have them enter on and off the field, and it just doesn't work for a football game. And not to you just mention just like the whole tradition for since the test of time, cheerleaders are out there for the entire game. Like that is not something that you can just disrupt and like it's nothing. We're actually performing and engaging the crowd for the entire 3+ hours that we're out there. And so I just think it's so short-sighted that they did not think of even optics of what it would look like to have them entering on and off the field between performances. Like, I really don't know how they thought that this would play out. Like, what sense did it make? Especially when they actually wanted to double back and say, well, maybe we need to keep them close by in case we need them out there to engage with the fans. So you're going to have them run from a freaking tunnel after they're scoring so that they can come out and then disappear. Like, did anybody think of how stupid that looks and like how humiliating that would be for the women? Like that you don't use us in that manner. That's not the way that you show respect for athletes that are training to be out there the entire game. Like it just again just doesn't make sense. And I can't stand when people don't think things through. And it's not that they're not getting input, they just assume they know better. And maybe they thought that what works in the NBA would actually translate to an NFL game. And that's just nonsense. It doesn't work that way. I also just want to like say that because I get the teams are constantly, again, trying to find new revenue streams, the implication of this, like spreading to other teams in any form or fashion that, oh, we can just create this on field experience. And as long as we move the cheerleaders out of the way, we can add X amount of revenue for this luxury premium seating experience. I'd hate to see this like other teams adopt this. Like, I think there is room to the extent that this even ends up being remotely looked at as successful. Like on their website, they actually market as like sold out. I don't know if that's true. People were saying that people were not in these seats all season long. So sold out how, sold out when, sold out to who. But I think if this proves to be something that other teams think is maybe an opportunity worth considering, just in terms of the seating, they may implement it differently than the Arizona Cardinals did. But all in all, I worry about us as performers and entertainers and athletes having our game day experience removed. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when I went to the Seahawks game on Sunday Night Football, I don't remember all of the specifics about it, but I do know that they did not perform one of their quarter breaks. They always perform first quarter change. I cheered for 5 years, and we've never had a reason because of primetime TV that we did not perform during the quarter breaks. Maybe our quarter break was shortened from like a minute 15 or 30 to 1 minute because of some TV timeout kind of thing, but never where we just didn't perform at all. And I'm just concerned about like decisions around like the game day experience where they're going to be experimenting with different things, removing some of your performances, because this is what I've seen happen like in the NBA where the teams used to perform a certain number of times a game and now it's like less and less. And so I just think we're looking at the potential for the erosion of like what we actually are doing on game day. And unless your organization holds a respect for what you bring to the table as cheerleaders, I think these kind of bonehead decisions are going to be made because they don't appreciate the impact and what you actually contribute as not just ambassadors of the organization, but as athletes that are part of the game day entertainment. Especially you guys, if you have a struggling team, that is not winning games and not filling seats, you have to entertain them somehow. Like otherwise they're going to pick another form of entertainment. They'll go to a hockey game or they'll go to something else because they're not watching the actual true product on the field in terms of a football game. They're not seeing a successful team. So when you think short-sightedly about what game day entertainment is about, you're not thinking of ways of, utilizing the cheerleaders in a way that tries to build fan engagement, and at least if your team is losing, that they have an amazing time while they're there. Like, this is just not the move. This is not the move. Maybe if the Cardinals were actually performing at some high level where you're selling out the stadium and you want to kind of like create this ultimate experience, maybe that would work. But like, again, if for somebody to want to see a competitive game, a successful team on the field, like sitting where you're trying to place them, it's an obstructed view whether cheerleaders are there or not. And to single out the cheerleaders was just extremely disrespectful and, in my view, discriminatory. They're the only women that are on the sidelines in that manner, and everybody else primarily is male, from the refs to the personnel to everybody. And so it just seemed very convenient to target the cheerleaders as the ones that are like in the way. And I think that there were probably several other options that could have been considered to figure out a way to leave them on the field and to try out this catastrophe of a field box. Let me sip something. What do you guys have to say before I take a sip? I also just want to talk about, because I got notes on notes on notes, you guys. I touched on it when I read their statement. I just think the player safety thing, I'm hoping is something that will be looked at before a player rams into it, the structure that they've built. I think in general, like, it's just a bad idea to have this type of structure on the field extending this far and close to the sidelines. It's not a good idea. I mean, I think even for the cheerleaders being on the sidelines, it's not that often that they run into us, but we have to be a considerable distance away from those lines that are on the field because our safety could be in jeopardy, right? Or the player safety. Like, that's just something that makes sense to me. And I don't think the structures being on the field and the placement that they are, again, supports the argument they've made. I really think the Arizona Cardinals need to get their narrative right, especially addressing like what people are raising in terms of like how disrespectful this and unfair this is to the cheerleaders. They ended up posting, I think, like 45 times, somebody counted, in 24 hours after that Monday Night Football game. Some are saying like in a way to kind of like bury the comments, because the comments, you guys, if you go, besides the trolls, people are like, bring back the cheerleaders. There's a hashtag. Let me make sure I get it right before I tell you guys incorrect information. It's hashtag keep AZCC on the field. But there's a lot of protest, if you will. There is actually a petition that I'm going to post that you guys can sign and share in your own social media networks. But I think that, again, this is just a very bad PR move, and it reeks. I really just feel for the girls because, again, not having the ability to speak freely about how this made them feel and having an opportunity to vocalize that. I'm sure, again, their leadership is doing all that they can to address this issue, but it's such a slap in the face to wear a uniform, to have to be held to such a high standard, to uphold that brand, and to, when people ask you, like, why are you an NFL cheerleader? They treat you so crappy and you're trying to like, or they don't pay you well, and you're trying to justify like, no, I'm with an organization that I'm proud to represent, that I'm out there in the community representing on a regular basis. For you to be treated that way so publicly on game day, I just really, really feel for them because it's such a slap in the face and it doesn't add up, right? I think the organization needs to think about their messaging and what this communicates to the women that they have made part of their organization, that they ask so much from, and make it add up. Because if you respected them in the way that you project and portray, and calling them ambassadors and the whole nine yards, like, this decision wouldn't have been made in this manner. I just don't think those things, they don't align. I think that's not the way that you show that respect, by handling the situation in this manner. There is room to backtrack, okay? There is an opportunity to reconsider the decision and the implementation of the decision. Like, again, maybe these casitas and these field boxes aren't going anywhere, but the manner in which that they made this change so drastically for the team, they can do better. They can go back to the drawing board and reconsider how they go about things. And I hope that between the petition and just people not letting up, I mean, I've been told to shut the F up and all kinds of things on social media, and it's really hard not to go out of character and responding to people. But I just think that there's enough people who are impacted and concerned about this that could potentially make a difference. Um, I know that I'm more than happy to use the platform that I have to elevate this experience and to try to, help amplify the voices that are speaking up about this. Again, I'll share the petition, the link to it when I post it in my story where people can find this chat. I know I'm probably leaving a bunch out, so I'm about to leave, just check my notes really quick because this is just really important and I don't want to leave anything out. I've been fussing the whole way, so maybe I covered it. But people are saying it's a shame these athletes work so hard, and I completely agree. Um, I don't understand, again, the notion that, oh, they only perform during those quarter changes and those, pregame performances. You perform the whole entire game. Everything you do on the sidelines, engaging the fans and dancing to the music that plays during game, like you're performing the whole time. So I don't I just hope that the NFL game day experience does not shift to what I see in the NBA, where I'm sure the NBA dancers would love to be out on the court, the whole entire game, dancing and engaging with fans, but, them running off to the locker room is just something that's a lot more. I think people are accustomed to seeing that. 3 hours of a football game and making that long trek from wherever they're holding you at and coming out onto the field and leaving the field, it's just such a bad look. It's such a bad look, and it's terrible optics, and I can't believe that they didn't think through what this would actually look like and the impact that it would have. I think it's really demoralizing. You work so hard, and that is 10 to 15 minutes total on the field is not what people signed up for in making the team, and it just feels disrespectful, and that alone is enough to, in my mind, have a meeting of the minds. Like they owe them more than that. They deserve so much better than that. I'm Again, we'll share the information so that we can not just complain and talk ish, but just actually do what we can to show support. But I want to just again commend everybody who's been very vocal in the comments, dealing with the trolls, sharing it with their network, sharing it with their alumni, showing support because it from everything that people have written in, it really does help a very difficult situation to know that there's so much support out there for them and that people understand that they do bring value. Like, and I can't underscore that no matter how an organization tries to treat you, I see your value. I see, what you guys bring and contribute to an organization on and off the field. And I'm so, so sorry that this happened to you. And I really, really hope this is not something that we see repeated throughout the NFL. I will lose my You guys, there are times I remember, I wanted to go live a couple weeks ago. I've been trying to get my daughter, through this senior year and getting into college, so it's been a little difficult to go live every week, you guys, but I remember watching some NFL games and kind of being like, wow, they are really not just a little blip of a hair whip with the cheerleaders. Like they actually are showing you guys more and more on TV, I've noticed. And I was just like, maybe this is a little bit of the DCC Netflix show effect. Like they actually are showing them dancing. It's not a slow-mo even. They're actually showing them in clips leading up to the game coming back on or, the wrap up of the game. And every time I just feel like we're making a little bit of progress in terms of the respect for what you guys are doing. And I feel like we just take a few steps forward and then we take some steps back. And it's really just so hard to watch this repeatedly or disrespect shown in a whole new way. Like I never would have thought that we'd even be talking about this for an NFL game. But all I can say is what keeps me inspired to do what I'm doing and is just knowing that not just I care, but other people care. And I just want to keep that in the front of my mind of like just inspiration because it gets really frustrating, like super, super frustrating to have these types of things happen. And then there's no explanation or justification for it that really adds up to what they expect from us when we become part of the organization. But I think we are in a space where times are shifting a little bit. Again, I think the comments were the majorities in support of the Arizona Cardinals cheerleaders. And I encourage you to speak up where you can, share where you can, and let's just show our support because we do matter, and what you guys do on the field um, contributes to game day experience, and the fans are speaking loudly about that as well. We know that we are not the whole kit and caboodle of an NFL game, okay? We already know that people are there to watch their players and cheer on their team, but so are we. And we also are professional athletes at the same time that are performing in a different capacity during games. And what you do, like I said, is very important and matters to that game day experience. It is so boring to watch games that do not have any cheerleaders on the field. There's just no other way of putting it. I can't even like imagine, seeing, especially with a team that used to have cheerleaders. I don't know how the Chargers are doing it. I know that there's been other shifts with the Jets not having cheerleaders anymore. Yes, life goes on and people get used to it, but it's a loss. It's a big fat L. I just would hate to see us being reduced in this way by having our presence on the field diminished, because that is just a slippery slope that is going to lead us somewhere that we do not want to go. It is damning to have junior cheerleaders and all these young girls looking up to us and thinking, I want to be you one day. And to what this communicates to them is just completely unacceptable. Unacceptable. Sorry. You are, it's just super short sighted. And I really, really hope that they go back to the drawing board and rethink this whole thing, because I'm I'm not going to shut up. I'm not ready to. I apologize for the audio issues, you guys. Thank you for hanging in there and listening. Um, I think what's next is me sharing the petition. I hope you guys all go out there and sign it and share it out in your social media networks. I will try to update with whatever I hear back from some of the people that are on the team. They do have practice tonight. I just want these women to know that you have my unwavering support. You have support of a lot of people as well, and just to hang in there. This is not going to go down without a fight. I think you just have to stand in your purpose and your honor, like your respect. Stand up for that as best as you can, because you don't deserve this. You don't deserve this. And whatever support that you need, I mean, you guys probably, I hope you know my history of shit, writing open letters, doing different things. I won't say targeting people, but like, I know how to look up what titles that people have in operations and for different teams, and then obviously respectfully, but just to kind of speak up, provide a different perspective, and show that people are paying attention and people do care, because oftentimes they think maybe there'll be a little bit of like of fuss, but then that nobody's actually going to care enough. And I think from what you guys were hearing from fans saying that they were going to call in, write in all the articles, like I think this is all just very encouraging that there may be hopefully some change on the horizon. I I'm gonna close again. Super sorry about the audio issues, you guys, and I will be posting my experience at the Dolphins game this weekend on Sunday. And so look forward to that. And I will get online again and let you guys know anything that I hear. But thank you so much for joining. Support the Arizona Cardinals cheerleaders. We see you, we appreciate you. And this is some BS. And we'll do what we can to support you guys so that hopefully this decision can get reversed as it should. Any comments from anybody before I stop? So sorry about the audio issues. So annoying. Okay, you guys, I will keep you posted, but I will post the whatchamacallit, the petition now. Thank you so much, you guys. Keep up the good fight. Get in a little tussle with an internet troll. That's what I'm gonna be doing. Talk to you later.